Hello DGens, and welcome to the Project L Fighter Spotlight, featuring Darius, the Hand of Noxus. In this series, we will be going over Darius' abilities in League of Legends and how that might translate over into a fighting game. The purpose of this series is to give the FGC familiarity with entire characters and how they might potentially play. Also, League players to get to know a little bit more about how these characters might look like in a fighting game. In League of Legends, characters have 4 abilities and a passive, with their 4th ability being their ultimate move. Think Goku in Dragon Ball FighterZ with the famous Spirit Bomb, or Flash in Injustice 2 Time Changer, taking the opponent on a journey through time. When considering characters' ability to transition over into a fighting game, developers tend to follow a flow of understanding the character and reimagining them into a fighting game, where they need to balance out with the other lineup of characters. If not carefully crafted, it wouldn't really be fair to play as Superman, who has the power to completely pummel almost every single opponent he would go up against. So let's get familiar with their playstyle, game plan, and abilities. Darius' playstyle is like a bruiser or a juggernaut. He's going to be walking in your face, he's going to be using his skills and abilities to keep you close, slow you down, and continuing to keep his blood meter filling up. He has 6 slots, typically, he has 6 slots, and those 6 slots will help him continue his carnage. Darius' passive, Hemorrhage. Darius' attacks and damaging abilities causes enemies to bleed for physical damage over 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Darius enrages and gains massive attack damage with his target reaches max stacks. So essentially, the higher this goes, the more damage he's throwing out there, bleeding over and over. This stacks up quite crazily and time. His Q is called Decimate. So Darius winds up and swings his axe in a wide circle, similar to Garen, maybe the character we might speak of in the future. Enemies struck by the blade take more damage than those struck by the handle. So typically, that means the closer you are to him, the less damage you take. The further you are with him, but you're still getting hit by the axe part, you're going to take a lot of damage. Darius heals based on enemy champions and large monsters hit by the blade. So, he hits you with that blade, he's healing. His W, Crippling Strike. Darius' next attack strikes at enemy's crucial artery. They bleed out, and the movement speed is slow. So, we'll go into it a bit later, but slows don't typically happen in fighting games. They can, like Conra from Killer Instinct, but off the top of my head, I mean, there's a few we could think of, but how often do we see slow abilities in fighting games? So, we'll talk about that later. Darius' E, Apprehend. Darius holds his axe, passively causing his physical damage to ignore the percentage of the target's armor. When activated, Darius sweeps up his enemies with his axes, hooks them, and pulls them to him. So, whoop, whop. So if you look at the Project L, any of the videos so far, you'll notice that, you'll do this, slam him on the ground. So we know what that looks like in Project L. Darius' R, his ultimate ability. Darius leaps to an enemy champion and strikes a lethal blow, dealing true damage. This damage is increased for each stack of hemorrhage on the target. If Noxian Guillotine is a killing blow, its cooldown is refreshed for a brief duration. Damn. Now that we're familiar with Darius, let's ponder a few things and hypotheses, possible ways for the champion turn to fighter. So, as a bruiser or juggernaut character for his movement, I'm not really thinking Darius is going to be a fast character. And we already know of something that might help movement, and we can talk about that in a little bit, which would be his. But typically, when you look at movement from a game design perspective, you have two ways that you can look at it. Like here's your character. You have character movement, like walking. Like that's a natural thing you typically find in 3D games, right? Any 3D game, even a 2D game, your character has movement. Well, you can also think about movement as pulling someone to you. Yeah, their abilities or a skill or an attack, sure, but they are considered movement because it's getting you closer to a target, which essentially upgrades movement. So that may not be spoken out there into the public so easily, but within game design, anytime you can look at it that way. Essentially, you can look at it as how are people like movement is you getting closer to a target or a target getting closer to you. How do you do that? And so you could do that with an attack, which is pretty cool, right? But I don't think Darius is going to have any special movement options. He's probably going to have the basic movement options that are within Project L right now that we know of. I don't think it'll be anything possible mechanic-wise for him. The mechanic really is going to be in his game. So we'll go over that when we get there. So for his Q, I think this is probably going to just be, if there's a possibility he might get a bleed. I don't think they will be. But if there is going to be something with his Q, for the Max and Guillotine that we might see in Project L, it's most likely going to be like a regular, like quarter circle forward type of move. Like a regular, like, probably do a little extra damage. There is a possibility it might do bleed. But what I could see happen is on block, it might do extra chip damage. So that's a possibility. Maybe it also has a lot of, not hit stun, but like block stun. So if you block the move, cool. Now I'm plus frames. I can easily see that happening with Darius pretty easily. Especially like a Bruiser or Juggernaut characters. They're bullies. They're supposed to be bullies, right? So I can easily see that happening with Darius. His passive, I don't think is going to make a return. Like I said, in the game, and if they're gonna put something like his passive in the game, it'll most likely be tied to like maybe his super, maybe like a mechanic that like how much times he hits his Q would gain his passive stack, his hemorrhage, that will allow him to do his super with extra damage. I could easily see that, so that you can technically tie the Q and the R together. So I can easily see the character being developed around his ultimate ability, which would probably most likely be a super. So you can easily say, hey, with Darius, we're going to take this. We're going to use his passives. They're going to be like 6 stacks or 5 stacks to get to his super, or they might help him do extra damage. And so whenever he hits with his Q, the Decimate, that adds an extra blip or pip to his meter, and whenever he uses his ultimate ability, his R, his super, however you want to look at it, then he will be able to do extra damage for how many extra pips he's got. With his E, like I said, I would technically add that to his overall mechanic. That what we're seeing right now is with his E, in a combo, whenever he uses it, he does it like a knockdown effect or a ground bounce effect, excuse me, if you will. So in combo, he'll use the pull, upper hand, slams you to the ground, you bounce, and he's able to continue comboing. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Like I said, it's technically a mechanic of his that would be movement. But so far, that's what we're seeing of it. With his W, I know we kind of skipped over that. I also don't think that'll be making a return in the fighting game. But if I had Darius, so I'm currently actually studying combat and game design, and I'll tell you, if I were to make Darius, I would a very basic way, not basic, but what I would do is center the character around his ultimate ability, making it so that whenever he lands his Q, he's adding pips that would do extra damage to his ultimate, to his super. And everything else is to help facilitate that. And as a bruiser, maybe he's a little slower than the other casts. Yes, he has all the regular, movement that other casts do, but casts doesn't really, but nothing too special. The apprehend could be used as a way to pull opponents in, but the closer they are, and it's on blocks, like if the opponent blocks it and he's pulling you in, he doesn't get plus frames. You just get closer, and maybe if you're too close to him when he does that, he is negative, and you can punish him for being too greedy, essentially. But if you're farther away and he hits you with the apprehend, or you're blocking and he gets it and pulls you in, then he'll be more plus. So it'll be like he's punishing you for being farther away from it because he wants to be in your face. So it's the further out you go and he hits his pull, then I would, as a designer, allow him to get be like, all right, oh, you want to stay that far away from me? Well, I caught you with my apprehend, and now I'm plus. And so, what I might even do with him is give him the soul bad guy grab, so he takes you and he slams you on the ground, and he's also plus frame still. But those are the only two big things I'd give him. After that, he would have to work for it. Like I said, I would build him around his R and give him those few little things here and there to help his gameplay. I don't know what Riot is going to do overall on the character at this moment. We do know that he has some pretty good hit options that allow him to continue his pressure and also to continue his combo. So it'll be very cool and neat to see him. So I'm excited about Darius. With that, thank you for watching this episode. Please like, comment, and share, and tell us what champion you'd like to see next. We're going to be going over characters we think that are going to come in the future, so keep a lookout for those episodes. For now, take care and keep on gaming. Peace.
Choose your next champion.